I'm Dr. Ben Newman, and I'm a coronavirologist. Next question is from Ellie. Hello, Ellie. Yeah. Let's see. All right. I remember Ben saying at some time last year that as the various vaccine research teams publicized what they were doing, the vaccine research seemed to focus, I would say, to an unhealthy extent on the spike protein. And I recall him saying that if you were being picky, which why not? Why would I not be picky? He would say that it was a bit of an all your eggs in one basket kind of deal. And yeah, I'd still say it. It's a very shiny and, to this point, fairly successful basket. But at the same point, yeah, we are like deliberately not trying for some components of immunity that could be protective. But I don't know for sure that the approach I'm saying, which would be like also vaccinate against maybe part of the M protein, maybe part of the N protein, I don't know that that would necessarily give better sterilizing immunity than vaccinating against the spike, which is what everybody's doing. And they're not just doing it with the spike, they're actually doing it with exactly the same version of the spike with a couple little mutations in it. They wipe out one of the cleavage sites, I think, and sort of stabilize another part of it so that it just holds together better and you can make a bunch more of it at any given point. So the question goes on. Yeah, and it's a good question. Now that we have lots, is it 7? I think it's over a dozen. It depends which country's vaccines you count in there and how far along they have to be for you to say, yeah, sure, this is one we know about. Do they all work on or with the protein spike? All but 2. So the 2 that aren't spike-based are based on growing up a bunch of the virus, purifying it, inactivating it, and then just putting that into people. So you would get all the proteins in roughly the same amounts, ratios, as you would find in a regular person with an infection. Yeah, not a regular person who is not infected. Those vaccines have been not all that impressive. I think part of it is that in the first tests there, they showed that if you put in a ton of just purified inactivated virus, you can get one heck of a strong response to everything. But it's really hard to make enough virus to actually be able to do that at the kind of scale that we need for the world. And so you're in this situation where it's a really good idea and it could really work well, but for that to work, you need the virus to grow itself. And this virus is honestly not great at growing itself. Yeah, not going to lie. It could do better, yeah, and probably should. Like in cell culture, where we can study it. So they cut the dose way down from what they originally gave to the mice and hamsters, I think, when they were moving up to people. It's like the same amount, but because people are yay big and mice and hamsters are yay big, it basically doesn't proportionately stimulate the same amount of immunity. You'd want a certain number of milligrams per kilogram or something like that with a treatment and with a vaccine. That's normally how it's done. So, other than that, yeah, it's all spike all the time, all the way, every which way, and for now it seems to be working pretty well. So I think the smart way to continue with these spike vaccines, it looks like they are doing the job, and I like that they're doing the job, would be to probably move toward mixtures of spike vaccines. In 2 senses. One, you would want to mix different versions of the spike in there. And I think this is something that each of the major vaccine manufacturers is already working on. They're probably going to put in something like a little bit of a South African variant, because that seems to be the hard one to knock out with your regular pedestrian antibodies that you made against whatever, the same spike that everybody else gets vaccinated with. And the other thing is I think we might see a little bit more action on combining these vaccines, because the messenger RNA vaccines potentially hit a slightly different population of cells than the adenovirus vaccines. And the protein vaccines may hit another slightly different population of cells. And so you can potentially layer up and potentially, at least in theory, you could end up with higher immunity. Definitely not guaranteed. a lot of things that seem totally sensible, predictions in immunology turn out to be just wrong, and for reasons that are not immediately clear. That's the frustration, I think, of dealing with a thing like the immune system. But I believe it can be done, and you know what? It may be that, if it's a good enough basket and it keeps all the eggs safe, maybe we do put all our eggs into that basket. I don't know. If it knocks out COVID, put me on Team Basket and Team Spike all the time. Yeah. I think just sort of natural caution and, yeah, knowing what's been tried in the past and hasn't worked out particularly well just suggests that we're leaving a little bit of immunity on the table that could potentially help down the road. Yeah. Wouldn't necessarily stop an infection, but could help clean it up a little faster. So, yeah, for now, I think it's pretty good. And I'm actually on my way right now to get the second dose of the vaccine, and it is going to be a spike-only vaccine. And you know what? That's going to be fine. So, all the best to you, and very good question. Yeah, very good sciencey question. Just stay safe out there, and thanks for your question. This has been Ask Dr. Ben.